Hi, my name's Leon Benham, and I'm fortunately the president of the Citizens for Coastal Conservancy. We're a nonprofit based in Imperial Beach known as the C4CC. And I'm sitting here with Dane Crosby. He's our vice president. So we'll talk to you soon, and please enjoy this.
Citizens for Coastal Conservancy works to protect Southern California's coastal environments and natural resources through education, research, and advocacy, ensuring future generations have public access to rivers, beaches, bays, and wetlands. C4CC's primary goal is to produce sustainable solutions to solve cross-border sewage crisis, primarily impacting South Bay San Diego, for good. Please head to the description of the video or audio to become part of the discussion and the solution. Previously on C4CC's educational discourse.
The incoming administration, we could have this solved in 4 years. And right now, they're looking at 7 to 8 years to finish what the Gavin Newsom SB 507 plan is. So,
so far it's been a disaster, and I'm afraid if they will be finished down here as a city. What's amazing is the San Diego River is actually this pond system. Santee Lakes feeds San Diego River.
That's right.
And it puts the sediment on the beach, so they have a big beach, and it's working right now.
Yeah, if anyone was to spend a day and they were to go and start at Santee Lakes and look at the recreational area, it's great.
Yeah.
And then that water, as it goes through these tertiary treatment ponds, enters the San Diego River, which forms all the water in Mission Bay and in Mission Valley. And then it travels all the way to Dog Beach. And all that white sand you see at Dog Beach and all the people there enjoying that, and that's really a blueprint for what we want to do to the Tijuana River.
Please enjoy today's episode.
So in the late 80s, my mom was on the design review board, and there was these NGOs that said, we don't want ponds because it'll have stink, this, that, the other, and they didn't go forward with it, even though it was in the original plan. So going out to Santee, it was kind of eye-opening because I didn't smell anything.
No,
it didn't have any stink.
Yeah, again, it's kind of just eye-opening, really. If you look at Google Maps right now, here we are, November of 2024. We haven't had rain since January. Basically, the river should be dry.
Yep.
And yet, right now, of the 1,800-acre county park, if you go to Google Maps, you will see about 438 acres covered with water, with sewage water.
So is that like a third or half?
Yeah, it's about a third of our valley. And so the ponds that they were saying, oh, no, you can't do, well, then why did you create them when the natural river system is dry weather, and all that water would go out to the ocean? And then during the dry months, we have dry rivers and we have no smell. So the advanced integrated pond systems are about 10 to 20 acres of ponds and so in fact, we would be reducing from 438 acres to 20 acres. I don't know, let me see, 20 goes in at 20 times. We would be reducing the smell by 2,000%.
Wow.
The surface area.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I remember in 2019, we went down and documented the sand transportation, and it was amazing to see, even in 2021 or 2022, when Hurricane Hillary came, there's all this water flash flooding, flying by, and the next day we were walking around and it was dry. And so it really is an ephemeral river. And now when we go over there, there's literally ponds of sewage in those spots. What was the change?
Yeah, and that's intentional, because if you go back and look at the photographs that we took, what they have done is now they have taken dikes and they have put pipes in them so that in those dikes, where there be natural rain in those areas, catchments, now they're filling them with
Ew.
And so is that the creation of ponds is one of the plans of SB 507 and the San Diego County Water Quality Board. So if you go up to any river, the San Juan and San Juan Capistrano, Santa Margarita and Camp Pendleton, the San Dieguito, Mission, San Diego River, that those flow naturally to the ocean, and there is no standing water, because that's the number one rule of mosquito vector control, is no standing and sitting water. So you really have to question why our water quality board is actually creating ponds of sewage. And even, one of the other things is floating on the top is all the trash. So when they spread that water out, and I mean, we could show you photos and that basically will show these big giant debris fields. And when that dries out, you look at it, it's a broken crack. It isn't the white sand that you and I were down there in 2019, 2021. It used to be white sand. It's now sewage sludge that's caked.
Yeah,
And
that was quite a contrast. It blew my mind because we were walking through feet of sand, beautiful white sand, and just a couple of weeks ago when we walked down there, it was just straight sewage sludge, dry cake everywhere.
yeah.
And so what is the purpose? Are they're spreading the sewage out instead of consolidating it? Are they trying to make wetlands? What is the purpose?
They could be trying to do that, but those would be areas that wetlands did not exist. We have maps from the 1953, 1964, 1977, 1979. None of that is wetlands.
Yeah.
And I think with the uncertain future, which is uncertain future about the Mexican sewage coming across the border, there's a kind of a vicious cycle, because when you have those open ponds of sewage, there's helicopters that come and they spread granules of biocide. The biocide is eaten by the mosquitoes in the water, dragonflies in the water, the bees drink the water,
Terrible.
all the insects drink the water, and it goes into their system and makes them sterile. They can't produce.
So you're really killing the ecology of this river valley. So that's why we probably have less birds and less fish and
no bats.
No bats.
It's because what you're doing is you're killing the food and the biodiversity of everything. So we do see roadrunners. We do see rabbits and things like that. But in fact, the bats are gone. And the horny toads, you remember as kids, we'd pick them up, and the lizards were everywhere. They are gone.
Yeah. So when we were kids, you could hear them, you could see them. There was life everywhere. Recently, I don't think I saw anything when we went down there.
Right. And that's what the biggest, on many people, and this is, a blue ribbon panel in 2015 went through and went back to 180 habitat restoration projects that were done. And these were done by developers in order to build their project. They'd go in and
mitigate.
And what they found was that 87% of those projects failed.
Wow.
They didn't reach the objectives that they wanted. And if you look at the biggest no-no, was that the biodiversity was gone. So that all the species that make up the unique habitat of the Tijuana River estuary and the National Wildlife Refuge, all the way into the county park, Brownfield State Park. Look at the photos on our website that look at 1970s, the pictures that are there compared to the pictures now. It's obvious that the state lands and the environmentalists and made huge mistakes. And um, part of the problem is when they started this in the late 1970s, they were in the covered wagon stage. I mean, I don't want to blame individuals, but they thought that by just putting in plants and, but they didn't realize how sensitive biodiversity is. That there's a plant palette in the Tijuana River Valley that is completely different than up in the high desert.
Oh, of course.
But they would bring in plants that they're native to California, but they're not native to here.
Wow.
And so in other states like Texas, Arizona, they look at some of the plants they put into the Tijuana River Valley, such as
Mule fat,
especially. Yeah. If the pictures of the 1970s, you look at the scrub, it was 18 inches tall.
Yep.
And the mule fat is 10 feet tall.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, there was owls and coyotes and foxes. I haven't seen that in 10 years or more. But where they used to have a little airplane field, and we go flying the little airplane. I think
the
now
radio control field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't even know where that area is. It's covered in shrubs.
Well, here's a kind of a stretch, if you could think about it, is that in a low scrub environment, the burrowing owls, the rabbits, and the wildlife went underground because birds of prey, when they would fly over, if they were out in the open, they'd eat them.
Yeah.
So you remember walking through, and there'd be these mounds, jackrabbits, and would dig them out, and they would be underground because the line of sight by these birds. Birds flying over, owls have incredible eyesight. So the only way that this the ecology of the valley in that scrub was they had to go underground or be eaten.
Correct.
And I don't know if you remember, but the sides of the river, the river was 15, 12 feet deep, where the river was in the channel. And as kids, we would jump off.
Yeah, and had all those burrows.
That's right. The burrowing owls they had little colonies, and sometimes you'd walk up and there would be a tortoise that was somehow in one of those. Somehow he got up in there, and so up on top where the flat part was, the tortoise came in, and then he was sticking his head out of the look, and so
the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah. And so they adapted to the ecology of the Tijuana River Valley.
It's very different than when I was a kid.
It's very different, and it's almost gone. So a program to remove those tall trees, the willows that are not native to here. Willows are native, but not this species of willows. A very low brush willow was the norm here, not the big tall ones.
Yeah.
So the mule fat, all these, the arundo,
let's segue. You said that the river had this big channel. I remember that as a kid. We just walked it not that long ago, and there is no channel. It's pretty much gone. And we needed sand on our beach. So I remember as a kid, we'd have a storm, and we would have these huge sandbars, and that kind of is non-existent anymore. What happened?
Well, again, these aerial photos don't lie. They tell us, and they tell us that that the river was in a channel, and you look at the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and then in 1990 to 92, local agencies had paid for to channelize such the river went to the north. And so when big rains come, they don't scour or in the channel anymore. And so that goes to the north. And if I can show you, like in the regular channel, you have a fall like this. So the water runs super fast. It's like a freight train, and it gets to the ocean immediately within 8 minutes of crossing the border, 8 to 10 minutes under big rain events. Whereas where they move the channel and there's photos of that.
Yep.
That you could see that it doesn't have the fall, so the water just ponds, and that's what we smell.
Yeah.
There's ponds of sewage, and that was intentional. If you go to SB 507, you go back and go to the San Diego County Water Quality Board's report, river restoration, they are encouraging spreading the water.
So you would want consolidated flow. It would transport sand and the sewage away quickly, but they're not consolidating the flows. They're spreading it out. They're creating ponds of sewage. The sand no longer transports to the beach. We have trash and sewage everywhere. Why would they do this?
Yeah, I think they're highly influenced by environmental groups. Like I say, that back when they started in the covered wagon stages of environmentalism, and they thought, let's make more estuary. But in fact, that was the worst thing. And we know that now. Yeah. You and I are criticizing them for 40 years ago. But nevertheless, the aerial photos and the conditions now compared to 40 years ago is conclusively proven that the policies of trying to spread the river out creates sediment buildup. Essentially, the river used to be like this, yep. And slowly, by them putting in the arundo, the bamboo type, the castor bean, the mule fat, the river has basically filled like this, and now it spreads over, and so there's no place for the sand to travel, or the intensity of the water that's flowing is not in one channel, and so it can't carry that sand.
Thank you for watching and listening. Stay tuned for further discourses and educational videos released every week.